let's update the survival race, because we have learned stuff this week, and although it's moving very, very slowly, like kind of like the sun gradually setting on a nice day when you're out in the garden having a barbecue, you don't quite notice it changing, but it is changing, isn't it? Obviously, as we said at the top of the show, really big wins for Bournemouth, who are just not really looking like being involved in this again. They look too good for it. Everton, we'll talk about in a sec, but Everton are always kind of pegged as, they'll find their way out of this, after too long. And so we mentioned it last week as well, Matt. We think some pretty good news in terms of a takeover, but we'll go all in on that when we have that confirmed and we know more. Right. So Wolves are still bottom, Matt. That is one where I would say park it for a week. We don't learn too much when teams play against Liverpool. They're probably going to beat most of the teams down the bottom there. Someone might nick a draw at some point. So Wolves still in peril, and we talked about them a lot last week. They go to Brentford next week. And at the moment, Matt, Brentford are beating teams who are down at the bottom, aren't they? And are functioning as a mid-table team, which these fans were worried about. And that's worked out well. We spoke a bit about Southampton earlier in the show. That's looking a bit disastrous, Matt. Southampton go away to Arsenal at the weekend. So big problems there. Could you see Southampton bottom? Potentially. Now, let me bring you into the conversation now, because Palace are in the bottom three, and Palace no one ever has anywhere near relegation because they're always going to finish 12th or 11th or wherever it is. But key result, I think they took the lead at Everton as well, didn't they? Talk to me about the significance of Everton 2, Palace 1, which now essentially flips the two teams around, with Everton in 16th and Palace in 18th.
Yeah, I'll just start off addressing one or two of the comments we've had on a couple of these videos, because we do get one or two people saying, you can't talk about a relegation battle in September and October. You're kidding yourself if you don't think it's as important now as it is in May. It's some of these teams are going to be down there at the end of the season. That is a matter of fact. Yes, one or two might pull out, and one or two teams that are mid-table currently might fall in, but it is just as important now as in May. And yes, these are 6-pointers right now, and Everton did get the better of Palace. We said it'd be typical if it was a draw, didn't we? So slightly surprised that Everton won. And to be fair, credit to them, because this time they had to come from behind. And it's been the other way around for Everton so far this season, where they've taken the lead and sort of crumbled. Massive result for Everton. We've been speaking about this Premier League relegation battle so far this season in context of who gets the first win. That could be really crucial. But it's now just a matter of looking at the points maybe a bit more as well, because you can see Everton have picked up their first win, but they're still behind Ipswich, who've not won, because Ipswich are pulling out quite a few draws. So I think, as we said before, possibly 34, 35 to survive this season in terms of points. So you want to stay close-ish to a point per game. I don't think you necessarily need it, but if you're a team such as Ipswich, who've just come up and you want to just get over the line this season, if you're averaging just under 2 points, say you're after 10 games, you're 8 points and you're sort of close to it, you've got a chance of getting out of this. Massive result for Everton. They'd only picked up one win coming into this weekend. They go up to 16th now. As you say, Palace go into the bottom three. Not massively concerned for Palace, given it's 6 games, and I think in seasons gone by, we've seen them on bad runs and near trouble, but ultimately, I think
Matt, Liverpool next for Palace.
Yeah, it could be a case that they might stay in there for another week or two, or maybe even up until Christmas. I just look at the squad and ultimately think they should get a move on, but that is not a certainty. So, if you're an Ipswich, a Leicester, a Southampton fan, you're happy to see them staying down there. We said about Wolves last week that we were a bit concerned, and then I also followed it up by saying, and I don't see them moving anywhere soon, because they had Liverpool. They've got a big game against Brentford this week, and then it's Man City and Brighton away. So, it might take a few weeks for Wolves to push out. And while those teams like Palace and Wolves have the difficult fixtures, that's where Leicester and Ipswich have got to try and capitalise to make a bit of a buffer between them. So, really fascinating at the moment. Not a lot in it. I think, it's very early days. I'm looking at 14th downwards at the minute as teams that could be involved. But that's maybe my cut-off line for now.
Well, that was going to be my kind of next point, is that when do we need to discuss West Ham? We'll get on to them. Just quickly mention Leicester, who I don't have a good feel about this, because I don't hear a positivity kind of from the fan base about what's going on there. Feels like the most positive thing that's happened for Leicester this season is the lawyers, managing to find that loophole in the points deduction thing, and that's not a great state of affairs, is it? Leicester play Bournemouth next week, and if we've pegged Bournemouth correct, then Bournemouth are going to do well against these teams that we're chatting about right now. So let's talk about West Ham, because absolutely fascinatingly, it's West Ham versus Ipswich next week. So the one way you can guarantee to suck West Ham into this, if you're Ipswich, is to go there and win. Now, as an Ipswich fan, you kind of look at it and well, West Ham away, massive stadium. They won the European Conference League. They've, been a really, really good side. You're not going to go to West Ham and win, are you? But I've had quite a few messages on Twitter and in the YouTube comments of, mate, I fancy your chances next week, from West Ham fans, Matt, saying we're not very good. It's not working very well under Lopetegui. So, I mean, can you circle a fixture away at West Ham? That would be such a massive result for Ipswich if they could pull not only to get that first win, but that would then pull West Ham in a little bit as well, wouldn't it? And we know those fans are demanding, and we know they won't suffer a manager underperforming for long there, will they?
No, it's a very good point. I sometimes look at the London Stadium and I'm thinking, easy to go under if you're an away team, but also sometimes you can turn them on their own team, turn that fan base against them. It's a big game already, isn't it? You look at the table, West Ham, as I say, 5 points, Ipswich 4 points. It's difficult, this. I really do think Ipswich have a chance. And if you look at what a lot of the other fans in the league are saying about Ipswich, I mean, I've seen so many positive things from the Villa fans. They were like, you guys are staying up if you play like that. I know it's only one game. But then the difficult thing with the context is you'd think to yourself, a team that draws with Villa and Brighton is more than capable of beating West Ham, given where they are at the moment. But then I suppose we thought similar when Ipswich went to Southampton. I think we both predicted them to win. Okay, they didn't lose. They got out with a last-minute draw. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I certainly think Ipswich are capable of taking the 3 points, but I would still look at this as a draw is not bad. It keeps West Ham from getting away, and then you're playing them at home later in the season. This is the away game where you take a draw, you may be still growing into the season. If you then beat them back at Portman Road in March or April, whenever it is, that would be 4 really good points against this team. So I know Ipswich fans really want that win, but is a draw not a bad result? I don't think it is.
Get your thoughts in. That's a quick précis on a fascinating, when you actually go through it team by team and what's coming up, a fascinating survival fight. Answer me these questions, guys, in the comments. Are Wolves going to stick in there for a while? Matt's looked at the fixtures and maybe they might. Southampton, are they as doomed as people are suggesting with the style? Palace and Everton, are they obviously going to get out? Leicester is kind of, what's the word? Sort of not engaged in the way that other promoted teams have been at the moment. And can Ipswich pull West Ham in? Give us your thoughts in the comments.